which will take us on to The Flash issue 62, Mark Waid writing with Greg LaRocque on art. This is the first proper issue of his run. Obviously he did the special, well, he did the wraparound of the special, he did the annual issue 4, which was kind of this weird tie-in to like an event slash thing. I don't even know what to call it. Whereas this is start of an arc. In this case, it's the start of his origin story, told via flashback form, where Wally ends up with like a sort of diary, a scrapbook that Iris made about his origin, about the summer he became Kid Flash, essentially. I mean, if I remember right, because I've read this story before, I don't think he ever gets his true Kid Flash outfit in this, but he gets his powers and he learns a lot of his early lessons, and
it's about that fundamental relationship that he had with Barry.
Yeah, and I think what makes this story really sick, or what I really like about it anyway, is that it really, as much as some of it's a little bit cheesy, it really hones in what the idea of the Flash was to Wally before he met him. Like, there's this excitement when he talks about going to Central City. He talks about going to meet his aunt and how much she means to him, and he brings up a little bit of the family tree and what his uncles and aunties were like and what his grandfather is, and because that's kind of the key. Is that there's a little bit of action at the start where he saves an airport from a bomb, so there's an action scene. We get to see him as the Flash doing some Flash things at the start, and I think the art's really good there actually.
Yeah, me too. It's real good.
A lot of swooping around, really defined. It looks good.
It's very athletic in a way that I think sometimes gets forgotten in Flash comics now.
Yeah, I can see that. But he runs into his grandfather, which leads to like the box of old stuff and the scrapbook that Iris kept. Who, by the way, in continuity right now, Iris has been dead for a couple of years.
Yeah. Obviously
that doesn't stick, but more on that when we get to it. If that even occurs in this run, I imagine it probably does.
I don't know. I've never read Waid's run.
Well, not in the run, but like we'll find out. That's part of the fun of doing this, is we'll find out when these changes.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that we know. Oh, X was dead here, and they were obviously alive again at this point, but we don't know the specifics of in between.
Yeah, there's a lot of details with comic books that you have to.
I think it was just last time I think it was. So we were talking about Green Arrow, and like
yeah.
And we're kind of like, oh, okay, we were both kind of right, and there are things that we know the general events, but not the circumstances and the stories. Yeah,
so Iris picks him up because he's spending the summer with her in Central City, and the cheesy part is how like Flash shows up because he's stopping a robbery, and Wally gets to help him, like just by happenstance. That's definitely the cheesy element. Like, okay, it's a bit in the nose, and
yeah, this is definitely the kid wish fulfillment. Absolutely.
But I think because it's from his perspective though, and he feels like he's genuinely helping, and he is like, he helps the Flash. It does actually play with the right kind of like tone and sentimentality to it.
Sure, I'm with you.
So no, he's super excited. And then he meets Barry, and it's basically the Lois Lane love triangle thing, right? Where he thinks Flash is the greatest thing ever, but Barry Allen, he's a boring old fart.
Yeah. And it's like, because we've got this narration from the future, essentially.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I knew they were so wrong. No one could be that dull unless they were trying to be. It's kind of funny, and it's like Iris must have known something, because this was ridiculous. No way she could be interested in a man like this.
Yeah. Do we know if Iris knows that he's the Flash right now, or she's not in it?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Inquiry in mind. If anyone listening to the show knows if Iris knows he's the Flash, I mean, it's only relevant for this first arc, because after this, obviously, we're just into more Wally present day stuff. But
yeah,
curious all the same. But no, I love that where they're talking about his lab work, and Wally just sort of says, "Oh, sounds fascinating." Not really being sincere, and I says, I think so. Tell him what you do, Barry. And then the next bit of narration on the next page with a clock above his head is just, so he did.
Yeah, I love this clock in the background, how it gets bigger every time. Yeah. And time's not even moving that much. The entire thing's maybe like 50 minutes.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff.
But, he's just devastated by the end.
But of course, Barry takes Wally for the afternoon to his lab to show him stuff. And he's like, hey, do you want to meet the Flash? We're good friends. And he swishes past him, and he's there in costume, and he's like, whoa, Flash, can you tell me about yourself? Like, who are you really? He's like, no, I can't tell you that. It's a really fun exchange, actually, because he's like, okay, ask me anything you want. It's like, who are you really? Except that. But he's like, okay, how did this happen? And he explains, the bolt of lightning and standing next to the chemicals, and then out of nowhere, lightning strikes twice because lightning hits Wally while he's standing next to the same, similar style of chemicals, and that's a cliffhanger for the next issue. Very sudden. I think this is something that throughout his run is going to be less stupid because, well, Mark Waid kind of, I believe, invents the Speed Force. So
yeah.
So we have other things.
So it becomes less just a, oh, look at this hokey coincidence, and more this was meant to be.
But I think what makes this work, and I'm kind of speaking with the foresight of having read the arc as a whole as well, but is that because everything's from Wally's perspective, and because he is so like sincere in how much he loves the Flash and how much he wants to be better, that I think you kind of forgive a lot of the cheesier elements of it. It's almost like Mark Waid said to himself that I wanted do this origin story, I wanted do a proper 6-issue version telling the entire story, give him an arc, but I don't want to betray the Silver Age kind of like feeling of it. It still kind of has that feel to it.
Yeah, it feels like he knew he wanted to deconstruct it later by adding in elements such as the Speed Force, but wanted to establish, okay, here's a definitive version of it first, so that we can then mess with it later. And
it works really well on its own as this Silver Agey version of the origin. I mean, it's obviously not written exactly like Silver Age. It's not as dense by any means.
Much easier to read, yeah.
But it definitely has that feeling to it. It has that feeling and tone. And like I said, the art is really good. I think LaRocque's the regular artist for a while, I think.
Oh, cool.
And I think, we don't see a lot of him in the suit, admittedly, because of what the arc is, but I think his Flash in the suit does look very good.
Yeah.
Very definitely expressive, very... I like how defined, like his it's gonna sound like I'm but
I feel like I know where you're getting at.
But his muscles, like everything looks really defined and like well shaped, right? He feels like he's. It's one of those things that's never really translated well to the screen. Is like having the tight suit with the muscles, but it essentially boils down to two things. Either you have really thin spandex to kind of like so you can kind of see it the way it's supposed to look and it looks kind of cheap, or they put on these fake muscle lines onto the suits and it looks really stupid.
Well, I think Flash can actually benefit in a way that others don't, in that even what we do in the comics now is they tend to be sleeker because they're runners, not bodybuilders, so they don't have to be as jacked, right? They just have to have a runner's body, which is a little bit different. I think that probably translates to the spandex a little bit better in theory.
Possibly, yeah. Because
I don't think it needs to be as skin tight as to show off all the muscles in the same way.
Yeah. But I dig. I think that show a lot actually. It's got an interesting kind of structure because it obviously has that third before he gets to the book, and then we get to just the start of the story, but.
Yeah, I mean, I've not read this before. I think, so I don't know how that continues. Do we just jump straight into we're in the in the diary, so to speak? Or
pretty much. I think we get like the odd page of like Wally in his grandfather's house, like sort of saying, his grandfather shouting, "Hey, do you want tea with that?" There's like an introductory page, and then, it goes back out of the story.
Yeah. Well, I will say is I read this in a hardcover I have, and it's one of those ones that doesn't have the covers, separating each issue. I'm very grateful that this was a very clear and obvious end of this issue, where I'm like, yep, that's that one. Didn't even have to like check. It was very clear.
I hope that continues.
Me too. I mean, I'll if I'm unsure, I will double check on DC Universe.
If you're reading the Mark Waid Flash Volume 1, which I imagine most people who read this now will be reading it that way, whether that's digital or physical trade, then the covers are theirs, so it's easy.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a hardcover collection just up there that you can sometimes see, depending on where my camera's pointing, and it's like, the odd story here or there from various characters, key stories, and Born to Run was one of them, so I thought, well, I might as well use that.
Yeah, Yeah. So
Interestingly enough, is obviously it's Born to Run, and we always call it that, but it is technically the Flash Year One, Born to Run. We never refer to this as Year One.
well, which is funny because it kind of is. I guess maybe you could argue the reason why I don't want to call it that is because it implies it's Barry's origin, because we kind of think of him as the first like Flash of this type. So maybe,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Wally West Year One would work. You could call it that.
Yeah, it could do, but it's funny. Like, it's in the book. It literally just on the credits is Flash Year One, then Born to Run. So it's to the point where I never even knew this was officially a Year One in that regard, because I've never heard anyone refer to it in such a way.
But that's what it is.
This is clearly the superior Flash Year One.
Oh yeah,
already.
compared it to it takes its time and actually like establishes all the things, and like because it spends time with him not knowing who Barry is, like you're actually kind of excited going into the next issue. Like, okay, he's going to find out because he has to know next issue, and he has to like learn all these things, and he has to.
Honestly, this feels like what I expect from a Year One. The only thing that is unusual from the Year Ones I have read before is the framing device.
Yeah. But I mean, that's fine though. That makes sense. It doesn't.
Oh yeah, no, it's not a problem. I'm not like criticizing for it. I'm just that separates it from most Year Ones, which just play it very straight as just this is just where you read this story, not it doesn't have that framing narrative.
There's really nothing else. I mean, there's nothing that stops the other Flash stories from doing that. I guess what makes it fun about this is that it's like a legacy thing, and it's also about remembering, like, Iris and Barry who aren't here anymore. So it kind of like plays upon that. Whereas, when we do like Batman Year One, you could have a framing device, but it's not like there's any big characters from Year One who aren't still around that need the sentimentality approach, if you will. Whereas because a lot of these characters are dead in this part of the timeline, it's like you get why there's this kind of like, let's remember these events kind of mood to it. So it works. So
it does. Yeah.
What are you giving it?
I'm going to give it a 7.5.
I'm going to give it a nice happy 8 out of 10.